Welcome back to Prospect Basketball Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Mount Prospect. I'm your host, Connor Graber, here with girls head coach Marie Miller. Coach, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
After last week only having one day of school, how did you try to keep focus and combat that with the team?
Our whole kind of goal this season has been about focus and being mentally tougher.
Mm-hmm.
The physical toughness is there; they've shown it, but basketball is very much of a mental game as well. So just being mentally tough and being prepared for different circumstances and just rising above it, because it's out of our control. So we have to do what we can control, which is control how we go ahead and think about it.
Absolutely. After losing the East title to Rolling Meadows, how do you try to keep focus with the team?
We set a goal out in the beginning of the year to go ahead and win the East.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen, but it doesn't take away all the hard work that each kid has done and the team has done, and all the bonding and the relationships and memories that have come forth. We're focusing on taking everything we've learned and everything that's happened and moving on with that, because we don't lose that. We continue to gain and move forward and focus on now this new, season 2.0 in regional play, which is exciting because everybody gets to start clean.
Right.
Anything could happen, but the most important thing is we don't lose what we've had.
Right.
We can continue to build on who we are.
Absolutely. With your last home game as your first year as a full-time head coach, what's one or two words you could use to describe this season so far?
Exciting and learning.
Okay.
Learning. I think it's exciting all around. Any beginning of the season, regardless if it's your first or 17th, is always exciting. If it's not exciting, then you're in the wrong position.
Right.
But just the learning part is more so not just learning myself personally, the role, but the kids being able to learn and adjust and become as well. It's been just a whole process of that, because it's so much more than who they are as players. It's much more focused on who they are as people, and learning things that are going to bring them success later on in life has been a huge focus and goal of mine.
Absolutely. And looking forward to regional play, what will you have to prepare for the most?
Same thing, continuing to stick and get back to us, which is where we've been successful. Defense and focusing in and trusting in the process of offense and running things down and playing together as a team. All not 5 individuals out there, but 5 people as a unit.
Right, absolutely. That's all we have for Coach Miller. Stay tuned for an interview with senior guard Helen Zavalas. Welcome back to Prospect Basketball Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Mount Prospect. I'm here with senior guard Helen Zavalas. Helen, thanks for being on the show.
No problem.
So, after the last week only having one day of school, how did the team try to combat losing all that time?
Something we really tried to do was obviously over our texts and phones and everything like that, stay connected. And then we knew when we came to practice that we had to be extremely focused and ready to be prepared for our Friday and Saturday games.
Absolutely. And with the crossover game tonight against Conan, what are you prepared for? What are you trying to prepare for the most?
We're trying to prepare for mostly they have a few larger girls on their team and some outside shooting, but we're trying to use this game as a stepping stone to get prepared for regionals next week.
Absolutely. And now that Rolling Meadows won the East, how do you try to keep focus as a team?
We understand that we did split 1-1 with them, so we did beat them, and then we lost to them. So it's just something that we're trying to flush and move forward on into the second half of our season.
Absolutely. And you talked about regionals coming up next week. How are you preparing for regionals?
Every day we come to practice, we're really focused on not obviously getting unfocused during practice, but making sure that we're really playing as a team and getting back to the team defense, team offense that really helped us with success in the middle of the season.
Absolutely. And especially for you as a senior, what does it mean to you that these are the last couple games you'll play as a Prospect night?
So tonight's our last home game, and it's very bittersweet, but it's really exciting too.
Absolutely. That's all we have for Helen Zavalas. Stay tuned with an interview with boys head coach John Camardella.
Welcome back, everybody, to Prospect Basketball Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with boys varsity head coach John Camardella. Thank you for joining us.
Wyatt, a week is just not complete without you.
Thank you.
It's just we need this once a week.
Once a week sounds good. We can have a couple more of these. So
yes, let's go.
Looking forward to that. So Elk Grove, you played Elk Grove this week
to
win your 8th divisional game of the year. Yep. You guys got off to a really, really good start. And how important was that in that game to get off to a good start after the last time you faced each other? It was a really chippy game.
Yeah, and we've been learning to play without some different lineups. Kreidler was hurt the first time we played Elk Grove. Zelmer was hurt this time we played. And what I've seen out of this team is just a commitment and an ability to play with different lineups, different paces, I think the stat of the game, I said it Friday night, and I'll say it again here, is that our team had 27 assists that game, and so the ball was absolutely moving. In the full court and the half court, I thought we were looking for each other really well. We had another good practice yesterday. It's going to be a big key to us moving forward, is sharing the ball and hitting guys in open.
Yeah, absolutely. Another pretty close game was that Bison game, when they're your opponent coming up on Friday.
Yep.
What is going to be the biggest key for your team in this game against Buffalo Grove?
Well, BG's got shooters all over the floor. They're everywhere. Cam Kraft is quite a talent for being a freshman. And so we've got to always be aware of where he's at. But he's surrounded by a lot of complementary parts. A lot of guys that can fill it up. They've scored 80 multiple times this year. They've scored 90 once, and in 32-minute games.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So we have to really be mindful of where their guys are at, how we're matching up, how we're closing out on shooters. Most importantly, hopefully limiting them to one shot and one shot only.
Yeah, you talked about Kraft, and you guys did a very good job making him take a lot of shots that made him very uncomfortable in your first meeting. How critical will it be for you guys to stop him, and also those other pieces?
Yeah, I think the big thing is limiting. Once you get to a certain level, you can't completely shut a guy down. You try, you always try, but the way he's been getting shots and the way he's able to free himself up in space and get shots, it's pretty impressive. And I think the bigger key is forcing any shooter, to try and be off balance, to try and be out of rhythm. That's what I think all good defenses do, because you can't completely limit everyone. I mean, that's why basketball games always result in a lot of scoring. So I'm just, I know our guys are excited. I'm sure Buffalo Grove's excited. Keith Peterson's one of my really good friends. And should be just a great MSL game Friday night, and hopefully a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about the frustration. You made Buffalo Grove really frustrated in that first meeting early. It seemed like they were off their game in that first meeting. How critical will it be to keep up their frustration on their home court this time? Because they made some unusual Keith Peterson-like Buffalo Grove turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is teams playing stretches. I thought in that Buffalo Grove game, the first half, we were pretty good, but that third quarter, I mean, they came off. Kraft put his mark on the game hard. Fourth quarter, we eventually got it into our favor, and it again is trying to put guys in positions where they're on their heels. Where the ball's going over their head. If you could get some deflections, and we got to be mindful too. We're not immune to turnovers. We've been known at times to make, and our guys are very aware of how much we need to value the ball. And at this point, as you're heading into the end of the first week of February, as you start getting closer and closer to these championship type games, it's each game now. If you're going to play for a championship, you got to treat each one as that. Start to put the pressure on yourself as we build here towards the end.
Absolutely. And speaking of championship games, a win would put you in the MSL championship 2 weeks from Wednesday. How have you been talking about this with the team?
I think that there's a couple of things. The team last year obviously was lucky enough to win it, and half the guys on the team this year were part of that group. As seniors this year, they have their own chance to try and put a mark on this. But you can't get out ahead of yourself, and as you look back, I think our guys are pretty proud of the fact that they've been able to win 8 games this year so far in the East. But I keep reminding them, you haven't won anything yet. And I think that type of focus, and that's not a negative, it's just a re-imaging, a refocus on what the task is at hand. They have to win 1 game. And that's our big key this week. It's what we focused on in practice yesterday. It's what we'll focus in on practice this whole week, is you have to look at this 1 game, like I said, as your championship game. Because if you want to have the opportunity and the honor of representing the East in the MSL final, you got to take care of this game. And, BG's not out of it either. There's some tiebreakers that are still there. And that's why I said this is going to be 2 teams playing for their seasons on Friday.
2 MSL East games left, Buffalo Grove Friday, then Rolling Meadows here next Friday, and potentially the MSL championship 2 weeks from Wednesday on this, could be on this very court. So looking forward to that, and thank you, Coach Camardella.
Always what?
And that'll do it for Prospect Basketball Weekly. We will see you next week.